I'm Ohan Breiding.
And I'm Mathilde-Walker Billaud, and we are the recipient of the 2025-26 Baxter St. Guest Curatorial Open Call. I like to describe Phantom Sun as a material and environmental meditation on the Farm Security Administration, a public collection of photographs that documented American life and especially rural life during the Great Depression. One part of the FSA archives is known as the kill negatives, and they were called kill negatives because they were literally hole punched by the commissioner of the FSA archives. His name was Roy Stryker. And when an image didn't fit or meet his criteria for a good photograph, he would make a hole in the negative. And so when the negative was printed, it will appear with a very strange looking solid black hole and shape. So I think the exhibition is can be considered as a combination of a selection of the kill negative with newly produced works that all relate to the nature of the archive and also the processes involved in the making of a photographic archive.
I think the black hole or the space of absence for me becomes a space to think about the nature of photography and the violent history that it holds. So to make sense of this black hole through themes of like land extraction, exploitation, practices of labor, and also the material aspects that make up a photographic image, such as silver or the gelatin from hoofed animals, light and darkness.
There is one emblematic image in the exhibition, Phantom Sun, that is a kill negative of a cow that Ohan printed at life size. And we place this image in the entrance of the exhibition. So the cow becomes our host, our greeter, and becomes also a sign for the presence of non-humans, of animals, that are present in our ecosystem and also on which photography relies.
The cow's actually, of course, looking at you if you're returning the gaze, but the cow's also looking across the room at the American bald eagle, parentheses negative space, which is a pink inkjet print of the interior of a rubber mold that I photographed. I came across this foundry that makes monuments, oftentimes monuments that are representations of power symbols of the United States. So the bald eagle signifies power and is deeply linked to the government and politics of the US. But instead of showing the monument, I thought it would be much more interesting to take a photograph that's a one-of-a-kind image of the inside of this mold. So to really think about cow, returning the gaze to the absence of a power symbol of the United States, of the bald eagle. That's this pink rubber color. This pink also feels like the pink that you would see like in a trans flag. So I'm also really thinking about the politics of like transness and trans people being excluded without actually showing trans bodies, but certain signifiers of the colors or the ways that the methodologies around how these images are coming together as like a transformation of bringing two different kinds of works from the past and present in dialogue.
I think the specificity of Ohan's perspective on the FSA archive, coming from their long-standing commitment with trans ecologies as well as the politics of care, really lies in the environmental production of photography and the extractive nature of the making of a photography. And if we can also think more largely about photography as something when we refer to the word shooting, so there's a lot of there's a vocabulary is really attached to the warfare, and so that's kind of what Ohan is trying to highlight in the exhibition.
This piece behind us is called Umbra tools for darkness. And within this exhibition, I was actually thinking about 3 different architectural sites. The first being the dark room, the second being the silver mine, and the third being the slaughterhouse. I use tools that are found in the dark room as the actual objects that I laid onto the paper to create these abstract spaces of representation. So, really formally trying to create an image via the objects that are used to make that said image. And the second component of the installation consists of a series of pig's bladders that I photographed. The pig's bladders came to me through the inspiration of Ursula K. Le Guin's 1986 essay, The Carrier Bag Theory of Fiction, that I just think is such an amazing text where she describes this spear as a tool that is oftentimes considered the first tool or object used by hunters and gatherers. The spear, of course, a phallic symbol that is used to kill or to hunt. And she argues that it was actually the carrier bag. The carrier bag was the first object to hold, to nurture. So the carrier bag is a space to hold children, to carry water, to transport food. And after doing research, I found out that the pig's bladder is one of the first forms of organic carrier bags. Also thinking about the gelatin that links back to this third architectural side of the slaughterhouse, where we're relying on hoofed animals like mostly cows, but sometimes pigs or sheep to create the gelatin for the gelatin silver print. And then the third component of the installation are these 3 candles with candle holders called sticky Tommies, which to me also feels like such a queer, almost like perverse name. Sticky Tommies are used in silver mines. So the silver mine being the other architectural site where I'm thinking about labor practices and how people are working in complete darkness to extract silver for several things. One of those is silver for the photographic process. And I use these original sticky Tommies um, on this installation with 3 different candles. One is red, one is white, one is blue to reference the American flag. And also the way that the lighting in the gallery is directed at this installation creates almost like another photogram on the wall through the shadows and the object of this candle holder that is also in a way like illuminating metaphorically the space.
I think with Ohan, one of the most difficult part was to bring together these archives and being respectful of the work of artists who has been already damaged through the hole punch, and at the same time also bringing their contemporaneity to the gallery, and creating also a dialogue that will be also highlighting Ohan's perspective and bringing also speciality to this dialogue. And there is an interest in the quality of this image as record of censorship of what is erased or cast aside from the public narrative of the Farm Security Administration and the documentation of American life. And I think this is a very starting point to think about the construction of a public archive or public narratives about America, about the American nation, and a starting point for Ohan to look back at this history and in our present time.
It was really, really amazing working with Mathilde. Working with Mathilde as a curator felt really amazing to think about the conceptual and spatial framework of how to place these pieces to create a dialogue between the past and the present. It's been very meaningful to work with the team at Baxter and to have my work installed here, especially thinking about the historical significance of this space and thinking about the FSA archive in relation to the history of photography, and just working with all of you here has been really, really special. It feels like people are very present and are taking really good care of the work. And yeah, it's felt very warm and welcoming, and um, I'm very thankful.
Yes, very grateful for Baxter Street to invite Ohan and myself to present Phantom Sun in this elegant and beautiful space in the Lower East Side. And also, I think it was an honor and a pleasure to bring Phantom Sun that reflects so much on the history of photography, on the traditional social documentary and landscape traditions, and in the space that has a long commitment with the history of photography and the medium, and also shows a commitment to new forms of lens-based art and expanded forms of lens-based art. I think what I'd like the visitor to bring back with them is the sense that photography is one part of the full picture, and so there is a lot of processes that are involved in the making of this photography that this show is pointing to. And I think thinking about these different processes and also the land-based nature of photography, thinking about how photography rely on the earth, rely on animals, rely on non-humans. So I think what Phantom Sun is doing is really to bring all these different traditions together.